Hi, my name is Mike Ayub, and I want to introduce you to Project Panorama, our new task management system at Cranbrook Loans. I'm going to train you on a lot of these different topics, but generally speaking, I'm going to just go over um, the functions of the system and how we're going to use it at Cranbrook. As always, if there's ever anything that you can recommend to make it better, because you're using it every day and I'm not, please let me know. And we can adjust and modify. And the purpose of this is to make the process much more efficient, much more effective with transparency for our co-workers, our processing co-workers, also our mortgage originator co-workers, their realtors, and their customers as well, the borrowers that we're processing these loans for. So you'll get to see a little bit about how this system will do that. It's also very, very easy to use compared to the previous system that we were using. So I'm very excited about it. So let me get right into it. First of all, how do you access the system? It is a web-based system. So you'll access it by going to https // cranbrookloans.com/panorama / and it will bring you here to this area that requires login. So then you'll log in, and so that bots aren't logging in, it requires that you do a little bit of math here. So you go ahead and put in your username, you put in your password, you answer the 2 questions, and then you click login. Now, before we log in, I want to show you how tasks are added into the system. Now, the processor can add tasks when you're in the system, but generally speaking, new projects and new tasks are being added into the system by our mortgage originators. So what our mortgage originators do is they go to our website, and they click on About Us, Employee Login. They will then log in, and under File Submission and Processing, there is a Request to Process Loan, also known as Submitting a Loan for Processing, and Broker Demand. So I'm going to click on that. When the mortgage originator completes this form and clicks Submit, it then automatically creates a task in Panorama, which is our new project management system. So now the other thing here is individual tasks can be created as we advance with this system. So at first, the only task that's going to be launched within this system are going to be full files. The other thing that creates a task currently in this system, it's currently set up in this system, is when someone requests to send a gift letter to a donor and borrower. It creates a task within the system, and it will assign it to the appropriate people, which I will show in just a few moments. But this is the other task that is automatically created when our user completes this request for gift letter. And as we speak, I'm also working on this submit conditions to processing. So the originator would come here to upload conditions, right? And it will create a task. And part of that task would include working on the conditions and submitting those conditions to the underwriter. So we are going to log into the system now. And I want to show you one key thing. One of the benefits of this system is the ability to view other users' tasks as well. Um, we're currently developing something where you could just click to view the tasks. I'm going to just click on tasks here. I'll show you the rest of it later, but we're going to just click on tasks because I want you to see this. So as you can see here, number 11. So this is a list of tasks for user number 11, okay? And it shows all of the tasks that are, some of the tasks may or may not be due. You can see here there's really nothing that's due here, which we're going to change that just for testing purposes to see it work. But this number 11 here, this is what you'll want to know if you're logging into somebody else's tasks. We'll eventually have a drop-down where you'll say, see this user's tasks, and you'll just select from the drop-down, and it will show their tasks, and you can work on their tasks if they're off that day, or to review it from a management perspective. So you'll need to have access from your username and password to be able to access those tasks. So if I put user number 6, which is another one of our users, and I hit enter, because user number 11 does not have access to user number 6's tasks, it'll show you don't have access to these tasks. But I can click back here to user number 11. And user number 11 is the person that I'm logged in as. And so these are the tasks. Okay, now let's work through this. Let's go to the dashboard. So here you can see the active projects, right? Each one of these projects would technically be a customer, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to complete a broker demand. And I'll go ahead and complete this and be right back with you. Okay, so as you can see, I've typed in all of this information. The borrower is going to be myself. The submitter is going to be Michael Davis. And I input all the details here. I also put in a date in processing and a projected closing date. And I'm going to click submit. Okay, so I've completed the broker demand. So now when we go back to our dashboard, we should see a new customer in there. All right, so as you can see here, Michael Ayub is the customer. So let's go ahead and click on that task, on that file. All right, so this is the customer. And as you can see here, the start date is August 13th. That is the date that the file came to processing. And we have a projected end date of September 13th. Now, that date is something that I put in there. So that is a goal date that the loan officers are going to set to give us an idea of when they're thinking they want the loan to close. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the end date. And that's a date that we can change when we know that it's going to be something different. But as you can see here from the project page, this shows you all of the tasks and potential tasks, okay? So I'm going to just go ahead and show you here. This is the 100 phase, okay, which is ordering and submission. And that's going to, the ordering and submission includes sending the file to the lender for underwriting, receiving the initial conditions, locking the loan, changing all the due dates, which I'm going to show you in just a minute, ordering the appraisal, ordering title, and subsequently you will order the homeowner's insurance, and if it's a refinance, you'll request the payoff. That's the 100 section. So that would be phase 100. And once all these items are complete, and sometimes subsequently you can be working on phase 200 when you're clearing the initial conditions. So once we've sent the file to the lender for underwriting, We usually do that before we have appraisal or title. So the conditions clearing phase, we're typically, when we say sending initial conditions to the lender for clearing, we know that they're not final conditions because the lender doesn't have title to underwrite and they don't have the appraisal to underwrite. So that's how we know we're in initial conditions or we're in final conditions. So once we send the initial conditions, and they're going to send back appraisal, title as a condition, or those may be existing conditions that are shown. And we may not send the initial conditions to the lender until we have the title and appraisal. Just depends on the type of condition that it is and the concern that the processing manager may have. They make that decision. So here is clearing, final, processing, and MLO conditions. So processing conditions are the conditions that processing is working on, and MLO are the conditions that the loan officer is responsible for and subsequently are working on. They then submit those conditions to processing as well, and then processing will put all those conditions together and send the final conditions to the lender. You can also see here the name of the person responsible for the task. Okay, so and that can be changed or adjusted as well depending on the situation. And this is coming in off of a default that was developed. So in the event that it changes, if processing management decides to change, or if management decides to change who's responsible for a task, then we change that in the default, and then once the new tasks come in, they'll automatically be assigned to the right person. Next, we have the closing function, which is where we will order and verify that the closing disclosure is sent, and we want to try to do that as soon as possible, as soon as we possibly can. The next thing is going to be to get a clear to close. We want to call every day until we get the clear to close, right? Then once we have the clear to close, we want to schedule closing with title, the client, make sure that the lender knows it, make sure that the title company knows it, that the realtors know what that scheduling is. And then once we have a scheduled date, we send a 325 or a title closing letter to the title company, so they're advised of all the details. And the last function is going to be funding and post-closing. This is where we're going to verify that the loan funds, right? And we do that the same day of the closing for a purchase, and 3 rescission days later for a refinance. We also follow up receipt of the title package, right? And then as far as there's a payroll notification process, this is going to be something where the processor will call the MLO and work with them to complete the payroll form online to initiate payroll, which is due within 3 days of the file funding. Hopefully sooner than that, but at least within 3 days of the date that the file has been funded. And for informational purposes, we're back to the employee login. I'm going to scroll down here. You're going to see accounting and payroll right here, and you'll see funded loan request for payroll. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And this is the payroll request. And this is where, this is the function of this task, is to make sure that the loan officer has gone in and completed this task here by requesting payroll in a timely fashion. The next thing is to complete the NMLS section and to complete the form online notifying a status change, and the dates, and making sure that the dates in our loan origination software BITE are correct. A few things to note here is, if you look, you have a project discussion. Once again, the project is the loan, and the phase or the tasks are individual. So I can, anytime you do any of the work here in this function or any of the work here in this function, you will put a comment, right? So say initial conditions were sent, you'll post it. And that way we know exactly what was done on the file, right? And let's say here, you can just say, this is a project discussion. This just shows the individual discussions in the project. Oh, okay, I'm posting comments too quickly. All right, so you can kind of see here in the bottom of the customer, okay, is the project discussion and notes. Now remember that if a loan officer or if a mortgage originator provides their client with access to this system, they will be able to see all of the discussions for the project and for the tasks. So this system is strictly used to manage your tasks. This should be up all day long as you're working on your tasks. Now, one of the nice things about this particular system is that let's say that you come in here and you worked on multiple things and you want to mark a task complete, then you can just click it from here, right? And there we go. Okay, so I can't click on this here, this title order, because this is, I'm logged in as Hemelin, and this is Pamela's task. So she'll have to be the one to check that off. Nevertheless, I think I can solve that problem. All right, so we can go ahead and click on all these tasks, and then you can also, just to show you, as far as these discussions are concerned, we left a task here, we left a note here about these tasks. So anytime you do work in any of these functions, you'll try to post a note so that we know that we can come in and see what's going on and that we've been working on the task. So you're going to utilize this as a task management system. Now I'm working on this particular file, so I can go in and I can review this particular file. But I can also click here under tasks, and it's going to show each of the tasks as an individual list. And I can work directly from this here. So for example, says send 325. I can come over here and I can say, okay, this is complete, right? So it shows, let me just look here for, okay, here we go. So complete the form notifying whatever. This is the name of the task. This is the project. This is the client, right? So the project name and the client name are the same. So you can kind of see how this works. So when a project is done, you can click here to update it, that you're getting closer to be done or you worked on it, and you can just move it up, right? And so that we know that you worked on it. And every time you work on it, you just add a little bit more, right? So we know that this file has been worked on, say, 3 times or 4 times. And then when it's done, you just click complete. So it shows complete. Okay. And then you can just kind of work off this. This shows upcoming tasks. Now, I'm going to go back to dashboard. One of the tasks, I'm going to click on this new customer, Michael AU. One of the tasks is to add due dates into the tasks. So as you can see here, there's start and end dates. Now, when you click on tasks, I'm on the dashboard, I clicked on tasks. And now when these tasks show up, it shows up and coming tasks. The tasks are sorted in a way that may not be, which may be adjustable based on due dates. So this shows up and coming tasks because there's no due date assigned to the individual tasks unless you assign them to the individual tasks. And the goal is that that's one of the first tasks, is to assign due dates for the tasks. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But to show you how to do that, I'm going to log in as administrator and just show you. So on the back end, okay, you'll see, okay, so here you will see I'm working on a project. This is the Michael Ayub project, and Michael Ayub is the client as well. Here's where you could edit the due date. Now I'm going to show you how to get to this point, but what you'll have to do, and I'm working on providing access to the user, is you'll go to http://cranbrookloans.com/wp-admin. You'll log in with that same username and password, and then you'll click on projects, and under projects, right now all you see is dashboard, but you'll see something else that will show my projects. You'll go to them, and then you'll see this. Okay, so from here we can adjust the start and end date. And here is where you see the task. So add all due dates in all tasks. So you'll come in here and you'll assign due dates for these tasks. Okay. There is a form which has a list of what the suggested dates are for each of these tasks. And you'll just go in here and you will assign due dates. Now this says here, if refinance, request payoff. Well, let's say that this is a purchase. You could just then change this to 100%, and you don't have to add the due date. You just change it 100%, and the task is done. If it is a refinance, then you leave it at 0 and you set the actual due date for the task. So I added a bunch of due dates. I didn't add all of the due dates. I just want to quickly show you how to do it. Now you can also click this button, which will notify the users of the update, and you can select all users or just individual users, right? And you can click OK. I don't want to notify anybody, so I'm going to just cancel out of that. But you can just by clicking notify users of update, select who it is, and then click update. A few things to note here: you can provide access to users here, right? So you could click to add a user and then select from the drop down and add who you want it to be, right? So this could be a loan officer or, you know, whoever the case might be. And then that loan officer will be able to access this particular file as well by going to their dashboard. Okay. All right, so I'm going to just click update. And it will update. Now, when we come over here, and I'm going to refresh the task page, and you'll see a little change. Where it will show due dates here on the side. Okay. So if there's no due date associated, then you won't see that. All right, now I'm going to come back here to dashboard, and I want to show you a nice feature of this dashboard. So you have the individual projects, and remember each one of these, even though it says template, these are just tests that I was doing. This would mean that we had, say, 4 loans in processing. So eventually you can see there will be a lot more in here, right? You can also show more if you'd like. You can enter keywords to search, right? And then you can search for those keywords. Okay. So what I'm going to do, you can also now look here under your tasks. So you have active projects, completed projects, and then your tasks. So the nice thing, and you can also see here on your calendar now you have different tasks that are due, and you can work on those tasks. All right, so if you look here, this is one of our customers. It shows the number of tasks that are assigned, the number that are in progress, the number that are completed, okay? And then you can see now here there's no due dates, as you can see. Here you can see those due dates that we input in the project system. So let me see. Now, if you look at this, anything that's not assigned to you is not going to show up here. So for example, title ordering does not show up here. You have to go to the actual customer, and then that'll show, because title ordering is not assigned to this user. But the really nice thing about this here is that this is a progression. We start with 100 and we move down to 200, or we go through all the functions of 100 and we move down to 200, 300, 400, and then you can see, so you kind of know that you just need to be moving down this list here to complete things, right? And you need to be moving down this list with this customer. Now you can also see from a timing perspective, this shows, for example, that we're 40% of the time elapsed between the start date and the end date, right? So that's what this here is, and it just kind of quickly shows you how close we are, or if we're beyond that time, okay? So you can just kind of go through and do a quick overview of any of your tasks and customers and just work down that list, right? And you can then also, once you've kind of worked on this list, you can look at your calendar, work through your calendar, see what's due for that next month, click on tasks. You can also work through here, right? Click update, saying that you worked on it, and then eventually suggesting that the task is complete. And then you can see that it's complete. Shows in blue. I click on calendar here, and you can see in a larger format the tasks that are due. Project ending dates, you can see them in red, and you can scroll back and forth through the months to look at the history. Now, to complete a task and to eliminate a file from your task list, you'll log into the back end and you'll click on, you can see here, click on all projects. And you can see here's the customer. I'm going to click on edit. Now you can see all these tasks, I marked them as complete. So I'm going to just mark all these tasks as complete. And I'm going to click over here to update because I clicked all those. So once I click on something, it doesn't automatically save it. You always have to come over here and click update. I'm going to click on view project. Then also here under the phase section, there's 4 phases, right? So we'll change that to 100%. So 1, 2, 3. There's 4 phases, but we actually have the ordering and submission, and we have a sub-phase, appraisal, and title. So then we have phase 200, and there's only 1 phase under phase 200, 1 phase under phase 300, 1 under phase 400. And that's it. So I'm going to click on update. Now all this may not be necessary. If you know that the file's closed and all the tasks are completed, you don't really have to update the phases. What we're going to do is we're going to just edit the task, right, and move the task to trash. But you can very easily just put over here that it's 100% complete, okay? And I want to update this, and I want to move back here to this screen. And one thing to mention, if you look here, it shows on, you can see the responses. So if I'm looking for, oh, here's one response. So I know that there's going to be a response in here, and I can read what that response was. So it's just nice and easy. It's a quick way. I can see 3 of 3 tasks are complete. So let me just update this since we updated everything within the system. And you'll see all this has changed. 6 of 6 tasks are complete, or phases are complete. 22 of 22 tasks are complete. Okay, everything is 100% complete. So when I click on dashboard, you can see that it disappeared. But if you click on completed projects, you can see that, you know, these are the completed projects that we have, okay? So, and then subsequently, if there's too many, we don't need to have all these completed projects in here. We can wait 30 days roughly from the date the project was complete and just move it to the trash by clicking this button right here. And that moves it. And then once we come back here, you can see that the task is complete. But I'm going to get that back real quick. So as you can see on this dashboard, we clicked on completed projects. So we're looking at it. I brought that one back. But if you look here under your tasks, all the file is removed. It shows completed here, so it doesn't show up here as an active project, right? So when you change, I'm going to click on completed. When you click on edit and you change this task as completed, now if I move it to 99%, you'll see that it will show back up in your tasks. See, it came back up and now it's back in active projects. So you will just change this back to 100% and it will move it. So again, that's how we're going to be managing our projects on this system, by looking through our projects individually, by looking through our tasks and working our way down this list, also coming in here under tasks, reviewing tasks. We're going to enable it so that you can sort these tasks by due date. You can also work on your tasks right from here, right? Again, so click here. I can say it's complete by going to 100%, or every time I work on it, I save a little bit more and a little bit more, right? Every time I work on it, let's say I call for a clear close, and then the next day comes, I look over here, I see, oh, I got to work on this today because I haven't worked on it today. So I call for the clear to close, or I check on it, and I move it, and then finally, oh, I got the clear to close. So then I just click complete, and it just sends it to 100% for you. Is basically what it does, right? So I got to just click on complete. There we go. Now the project is done. So this is your work queue. Some of these tasks are due, some of these tasks are not due, right? And the way to do that is, again, it's important that we add those due dates on the file once the file comes in, and we set goals for it. Now you may be working on something that's past due. That's okay. We're going to do the best that we can do with this system. I want to make sure that this system is up in your browser and you're working side by side with it. So as you look at your tasks that are due and you work on those tasks. And now you might have individual tasks or non-processing related tasks or whatever the case might be. You can very simply, you can set up a project for yourself just as a reminder, a list of tasks. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm just going to click on New Project. And I might call this project MLO Follow-Up. So every Wednesday, we're going to call our MLOs. I'm going to click on Add a Phase. Make phone calls every Wednesday, or make contact every Wednesday. Okay. And I'll come over here, I'll add a task. And for this task, I'm going to say call all MLOs. And I'll assign that. Oh, I guess it's going to be assigned to myself. I got to assign a team, so I got to come back over here and I got to go to Access. And I have to add a user before they can show up. And I'm going to click on the user. Okay, so again, here where I put the name of my project, MLO Follow-Up, and then there's these lists here under Access. I'm going to click back to Overview. Okay, so now make contact every Wednesday. So now hopefully, I might have to just click Save the project. So I'm going to publish the project. And then because it has access in there, now it should give me access to the user. There we go. Okay. So now I have the user in there. So that's call all MLOs. And I'm going to add another task. Email all MLOs. All right. And then for a description, all right, so I'm going to click on Update. So now that's a non-processing related task, non-client related task. So when I come over here, let's take a look and see. It should show up in here somewhere. Call all MLOs, right? And it's just here, make contact every Wednesday. And there's the task. Right, so I can work on that individual task. Okay, I can update my progress on it, or if it's an individual task for you, right? So if you wanted to, if you didn't know exactly what to do, calling and what the individual tasks are, then you would create individual phases. Optionally, you can come over here to your dashboard. And again, these are going to be projects that are assigned to you. I got my MLO follow-up. I'll click on that project. You can also see down here. Okay. I'm going to make a quick change to this task. We're going to say tasks are checklists. And I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to move this back over here, and we're going to re-look at this task because, so here's our tasks, right? This just makes it easier to check off that the task is done. Now, this is a task that's ongoing, so you just leave it in here as a reminder. That's fine. You don't have to ever check mark it done, right? I'm going to click on Tasks over here. And what I'm looking for is if these tasks are going to show up as individual tasks. Call out all MLOs, make contact every Wednesday. I believe I can click on the task and get and drop that down further by clicking on the tasks here. Okay. All right, so that's something to be aware of, is that under this tasks task list, it only shows you the phase, it doesn't show you the subtasks. Okay, so to get to the subtasks, you'll need to work through this system. So under our main system, right, I'm going to, so now you know how to add tasks. I'm going to just go over here to this customer, Michael Ayub. All right, so you can kind of see here, so the phases, you'll see ordering and submission, right? And that's where you're going to add the due dates in the system. You're going to send to the lender, receive conditions, and lock the loan. And then you can see the appraisal. Under the appraisal phase, you have homeowners and requesting a payoff if necessary. And then title is just order and receive title, and follow-up as well. Conditions clearing, and then closing, right? So you just have to kind of be aware of what those subtasks are. And if not, then, and you know that you're working on a funding task, you can click on the phase in your task list to nail that down further. A few important remarks I want to mention about the Panorama system. First of all, you have to understand with this system that not all tasks are listed here. It's just a general guide for us to use to progress through the system. So there's a couple of policies that you're going to want to know about. One being the follow-up receipt policy, which goes hand in hand with the processing plan. So if you're not aware of the processing plan, then you'll want to work your way over to the processing plan. And the way that you'll do that is you go to Cranbrook Loans and you'll click on About Us and Employee Login. Okay, hang on a second. It's not letting me access it, so I'm going to just click Log Out here. And then it's going to give me the password, 41. Okay. Then I'm going to scroll down to Training Links. And I'm going to click on For Additional Processor Training. Click here. And then it says here for Processing Plan Outline. I'm going to click on the Processing Plan Outline. And this is just kind of a list of really what's going on in all the different stages and functions and things of that nature. So you'll want to make sure that you make yourself aware of this process, right? And the process may have changed a little bit, but generally speaking, it's the process that we still currently use. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is the follow-up receipt policy. So in short, what that means is just when you order something, for example, title or even an appraisal, the first thing that you want to do is whatever it is that you're ordering, if you send the file to the lender, you need to make sure that the lender received it. Now, if it's an upload, you know that that's easy. You'll maybe want to notate that you check the turn time, and this is the you just notate in the discussions, this is the date that we're expecting the conditions to be out. But let's say that you send a fax or an email to order something. What we don't want to happen is 4 days later, the vendor to say, oh, well, we never received that order. So that's the purpose of the follow-up receipt policy. If you don't have a copy of this policy, send an email to me at mtau@cranbrookloans.com. And I'll send you a copy of this policy. Say, please send me a copy of the follow-up receipt policy. But basically what this policy says is that it's your responsibility as the processor to, when you make an order, to follow up receipt, not by sending an email, but by getting verbal confirmation or written return confirmation within a 24-hour period that the order was received. So let's say you send an email and then a day goes by and you forget, right? So the follow-up receipt is a task that you have. You might as well get it done on the first date. So if you go and you order title, you you might as well just make a quick phone call and say, hey, I just sent you a title order. Did you receive it? They say yes. Then in the discussions, in the dashboard, you would just make note. I'm logged out, so it's going to, but you would make note under the discussion section that you spoke to a specific individual and they confirmed receipt of the title order or appraisal order or conditions or whatever it is that you sent. Homeowners insurance, payoff potentially if it requires contact. Sometimes payoffs are automated. The ones that are not automated, where they need to receive the physical document, you'll want to make sure that you confirm that they've received the request for payoff or that the insurance agent has received the request to change the lost payee, that the appraiser received the order. So that's the following up receipt of whatever it is that you're sending. You have to ask yourself, am I sending something to somebody that it's good to know that they received it? And if so, then you want to follow this policy. If you fax something, sometimes an email is easy. You'll send them an email, they'll send it back to you. I received it. Other times, especially with fax, it's not so simple. All right. And that will conclude our training for Project Panorama.